Whoa, gang waves. What do we have there? Hi, did you hear about the bull in the china shop? Ha ha ha.
Eh, whatever.
Thump. Ah! Safari Man's here to stop the raging bull. Whoa! Oof, oof. Ándale, ándale, ole, oh, 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 ole, oof, 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 oof. Hello, LEGO Transformers fans. Today, we are going to talk about LEGO Transformers Tantrum. So this is LEGO Transformers Tantrum. Looking at Tantrum, he is a very nice looking Transformer. He looks like a bull. Captures the aesthetic very well. One of the things I was going with him is parts usage. So there's these handlebar pieces, and I kept thinking to myself, they would look great on a Transformer. And so I decided to use them as the bull horns. Now I could have used horn pieces, but I think the handlebars really captures it very well. Especially for like a robotic bull. On top of that, we have this nice red piece with these holes. Now this is actually a 2-stud piece. And so when I looked at it, all I could think of were eyes and a nose. And I was like, this could be a perfect animal head. So I added these 2 orange wedges, and they became the ears, and then you sort of have the eye right there. Now, there is one little complaint I'll make, and that's this piece here. So for Tantrum's head, I'm holding him up with one of these vertical hand hinge pieces. So it's a clip that holds on to things. Well, the first one I used has already broken. So here's the rod that I'm hooking them on. I'm not sure if perhaps this rod is too thick for the hand and only certain hand pieces will go onto it. But I liked using this piece because you can move his head down, you can move his head up. And then even the handlebar hinges, you can kind of move them. So if you put his head down, you have his horn still sticking forward. He's going to ram you. But yeah, even there, the connection's pretty tight there. And it's nice and kind of a tight connection here, so you can move it up and down. And it doesn't fall off. But after a period of time, the little hand starts to crack inside, and then it becomes super loose and falls off. Because I did originally have a cool orange hand piece there. Okay, now let's look at the rest of the build. So I got the red legs, just like I did with our buddy Headstrong. Tantrum's a cow, so he has hooves. So we have his actual hooves sticking out. Well, he's a bull. A mean old bull. And here we have hooves on the back with a slightly different piece. And he's got a great range of motion as far as an animal character goes. He can move his legs back. He can move his legs forward. He can move his front legs forward and back. So he has a decent amount of articulation in beast mode for sure. And these oranges and grays really bring him out. I try to capture that G1 aesthetic when building him. And in the G1 toy, he had these big gray pieces here. And so I definitely tried to capture that. And he's got an orange body. He seems to be one of the most oranger ones of the Predacons that I built. But I think he looks great. And so, let's do some quick size comparisons. So, here we have Tantrum next to a Lego minifigure. And Tantrum's pretty big. He's a big bull, or a water buffalo, or bison, whatever you want to call him, but I'm pretty sure he's a bull, because he looks very much so like a bull. Now let's compare him to a vehicle. We'll compare him to Dirge, one of the larger of my secret jets. And you can see he's pretty big compared to him too. When I started building the Predacons, my scale started creeping up on me, and my builds got bigger and bigger. And then we have Thrust. So in Predacon tradition, I show a robot next to the Predacon because Predacons like their animal modes, so they'll be in them almost as much as they'd be in their robot modes. Kind of like the Dinobots. Okay, so now that we've compared him to other Transformers and you kind of get an idea of how big he is, let's do the main thing and transform him. So first, we'll kind of rotate his horns down and move his head back. Then, we'll take his back legs and they rotate around. There's one. There's two. Now with the original Predacons, the G1 toys, I believe their legs either folded behind them or push up into their bodies. And then their feet flipped around like this. So now we can stand them up. And you can see he's standing on his feet. And the cow head became the robot head underneath. You got the little black part for his face. And the triangle. But wait a second, something looks weird. There's hooves here. Yep, he's not like Headstrong. His feet do not become his hands. So let's finish the transformation. We flip his leg around. And actually pull this down and he has a real hand. Flip this leg around. Pull this down. So Tantrum has two real hands. And that's one thing I try to do. I saw the G1 transformation. His hands actually came out of these blocks. So that's one thing I wanted to keep true to the actual Transformer. And I think he looks like a great figure. He's very beefy. Very strong. Look how big this torso is. But it's pretty important that he's big because he has to become one of the lower half of Predaking. So he has to hold all those guys up. Same with Headstrong. So that's why they're beefier builds. Now, I think he just looks really great in this mode as a robot. He looks great as a bull too. He actually turned out to be one of my better of the Predacons. I think he's like maybe next to Rampage, the best build of the Predacons that I made. And he's got a nice color breakup. He's got his gray, he's got red and orange. So it breaks up very well, and the grays and the orange go together. Here we can see I used hinge pieces to put his hands on, and that way they can fold away or come down, and it gives him a little bit of articulation because he has the hinges, so he has elbow articulation, and he has the shoulder joint from the beast mode, so when we turn his shoulder, he's also got a little bit of shoulder articulation. Now if you line it up right, you don't even see the back legs. See, look at that, no back legs. Now if you turn it that way, you kind of see the back legs. He can also rotate his feet a little bit, but that's part of the transformation. So The main thing about the feet on these little tiny Transformers like this, even though he's actually quite big for a small Transformer, the main thing is you want to make sure they can stand on their own. Okay, well, let's do some size comparisons of Tantrum. See how he looks as a robot. So here's that minifigure again. Now, if you thought the bull was big in comparison, the robot is much bigger. So you can tell he's going to be a big guy. This poor Lego man will be pretty scared. Luckily, he's not the Safari Man. Let's compare the jet mode of Dirge again just to see, as a robot, how much bigger he is. So Tantrum is much bigger in this mode. Now, let's compare him next to the robot, the Transformer Thrust in robot mode. And you can see it's a decent size. They're similar in height, except for Tantrum is a little bit taller and much wider. So he looks like a bigger Transformer. And that's what the Predacons were. They were sort of like the bigger, tougher Transformers. Kind of like 5 Incredible Hulks running around. And the whole idea was that they matched off against the Dinobots, with one difference is the Predacons could transform or combine into a combiner, Predaking. But the Dinobots could not at that point in time. Nowadays, yes, I know the Dinobots can combine nowadays. But back then, Dinobots were never actually a combiner. So there we go. We got Tantrum here in his robot mode. I'll just do a quick 360 so you can see what he looks like. So I hope you've all enjoyed this video on Tantrum. And stay tuned for more Lego Transformers. Thanks for supporting the channel.